coming up on today's halftime broadcast.
You know, and it's been a few times that I've had Instagram taken off of her telephone just because some of the posts that I've seen from some of her friends. And I know I can't shelter her forever, but while she's 13 and I can do the best that I can, I'm going to do everything I can to influence her in a positive way.
You can't be in here one day that you're talking about how good church was on Sunday, and then the next moment you hiding behind the bleachers messing with some little boy or letting some little boy mess with you.
You're either going to change them or they're going to change you. And you just have to make the decision which one it's going to be. So I strongly urge all parents, number one, like you said, as a family, you honor God, you honor the church, you honor your family, but you have to know who your kids are hanging out with.
And now, today's Bible teaching with Tony Emahale, pastor of Brave Heart United.
Top of the day to you, and thank you for tuning in to today's broadcast. We are shifting gears in the month of March in celebration of Women's History Month. So go ahead and get your note-taking and writing utensils out, because we're going to go both deeper and wider as we celebrate women who make history in the world today, in our lives today, just everyday women doing everyday things but having such an extraordinary impact on the history of the world as we know it. Being a woman, I recognize that oftentimes the most significant mark that we make in history comes through what we impart into our children: values, standards, ethics, morals, beliefs. More often than not, our inspiration for pioneering change or taking up a cause in the world is really fueled by our desire to make a world a better place for our young people. And when I say our young people, I'm not just talking about for my children, for your children, but children all over the world. When we see an injustice done and we come back and we want to teach the children, our young people, how to handle it. And we're talking about infants, we're talking about toddlers, we're talking about teens, we're talking about young adults. We want to, as women, be the builders in society that gives that child a fair chance at life, success, and significance. And so today I have with me for this first installment of this new series entitled MotherME, what our children need to hear in today's culture. I have with me Venitra White-Dean. She is a mother, a wife, a daughter, entrepreneur, and most importantly, a woman who is making significant impact in the lives of young people through her gifts and talents that God has given her. Venitra, welcome.
Wow, thank you so much for that awesome introduction. It's good to be here.
Amen. Well, I'm glad that you've taken the time out of your schedule to join us in this discussion of youth, and I'm sure you can agree that today's culture really presents some challenges for our youth.
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. Being the mother of a 13-year-old daughter, yes, the culture does present some challenges for us.
Well, the thing that gets me and that a lot of parents and even our youth don't realize is that the Bible talks about there being nothing new under the sun, and truly it's not. We may not have seen some of the things that we see happening in our society today in our lifetime, but the tricks of the enemy to ensnare our youth is much like the culture that was set when war broke out in heaven, when Satan was cast out. And just as he did then, his influence in the earth now emits a melodious sound, a rhythm, a look, a presence, something that our young people find hard to resist. It takes the form of trap music, rap music, video games, designer clothes, designer shoes, obsession with hair, obsession with makeup, becoming pleasurable for feeding the lust of the eyes, the body, mind, soul, spirit, and they're finding themselves engaged in things that they really were never intended to be engaged in. So the sound of this popular culture today, it has the ability to disposition or bring out of alignment, to malign our youth for the greatness that God has predestined for them. Have you seen this along the way in raising your 13-year-old or even some of the other youths that you have had an influence in their lives?
Yes. I am that mother that does surprise phone checks. I do surprise computer checks. And some of the things that I've seen on my daughter's Instagram from some of her friends and some of her associates just blow my mind. And she and I have open, frank, honest conversations. And just some of the words that these teenagers are using, some of these outfits that the young girls are taking pictures in and posting on Instagram, and just the whole culture thing. And, you know, I've even reached out to some of her friends as a mother and talked to them, and I even talked to her and let her know, you know, you're fearfully and wonderfully made. You don't have to post pictures of yourself with a bikini top and some shorts on, or, you know, making your duck faces and, you know, just stuff like that. And you are beautiful just the way you are, and you don't have to put yourself out there. And just being that mother figure, not just for my daughter, but for, you know, her friends or her associates, and just let them know right from wrong and what society teaches you. It may look good and it may feel good and it may sound good, but everything that looks good is not good for you. And I had a hard time growing up. My father was a pastor, and I just thought my father was the strictest person on the face of the earth. But now being a parent, I totally understand where my parents were coming from. When I had a curfew earlier than everybody else, when I couldn't talk on the phone past a certain time, you know, just certain things that my father and mother instilled in us, I instill in my daughter. I don't think I'm as strict as my parents were, but I still instill those values in her and let her know you don't have to follow the crowd. You be a trendsetter. You set the trend to be who you are, and you let others follow you. You don't follow the crowd. You know, and it's been a few times that I've had Instagram taken off of her telephone just because some of the posts that I've seen from some of her friends. And I know I can't shelter her forever, but while she's 13 and I can do the best that I can, I'm going to do everything I can to influence her in a positive way. And, of course, she may stumble along the way, because I think we all do, but she knows that she can always come to me, and I have open, frank, honest conversations with her, and I think that's the difference now. And my parents were awesome parents, but we didn't have that open, honest communication that my daughter and I have, because I want her to be comfortable coming to me, talking to me about anything. And so that's the foundation for us. She knows I'm mommy first, and I can be your friend, but my first job is mommy, and my first job is to raise you to be the woman of God that you're destined to be.
Absolutely right. I, too, grew up in a household where my parents were leaders in the church. They were clergy, and we were raised Pentecostal, so there was no conversation. It was black and white. You know, there were things that you don't do. And some of the things that you mentioned in terms of values that they set for us, and it was really helping us to set standards. Like when it comes to curfews, when it comes to talking on the phone beyond a certain time, And I can clearly remember how my mother used to tell us that you don't ever find yourself up late at night. He shouldn't be able to call you any time of the night and you're on the phone with him. You know, you don't give anybody open access to you unlimited all the time. And then when it came to hanging out and having that curfew, it was like the belief was if you can't do it before a certain hour, there becomes an hour where the only thing to do lends more toward your flesh and pleasing the flesh than not. So anyway, what they used to call the bewitching hour. It's like, okay, you can have your date, and after you've spent, 2 hours, 2.5, 3 hours on a date, hanging out, having fun, after that, what else is there to do? Get your behind home before you begin engaging in something that you should not be engaged in.
Exactly. So
curfews, talking on the phone, not following the crowd, being the trendsetter. And I also heard you say something about removing the devices that...
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Removing
yes, ma'am.
That device, that vice that has the ability to go straight to your child's mind and impact their way of thinking. A sign of maturity in a child is when the child, the young person, sees that themselves and they begin to remove the vices that they recognize are after them. My heart was filled with such joy, and I had a very proud mother moment the other day when I met with my daughter's teacher, and the teacher said that he was really surprised to receive an email from my daughter. He says the first time in his years of teaching that he had ever received an email from a student basically explaining how she has friends that are in the classroom and she loves hanging out with them, but their friendship was impacting her learning environment, and she requested a move of her position in the classroom so that she could focus on her learning. And it was a real proud mother moment for us because we're teaching her how to establish boundaries. So, yes, have the friends, but establish boundaries so that even if your friends are involved in this, don't get so caught up in wanting to be involved that you compromise the real reason why you're there in that educational setting.
Exactly.
So it was a really proud parent moment for us to hear that, and knowing that she has set a standard. She's disciplined herself to stick to the standard that she's set. And she's been able to see the benefit of it by continuing to learn, continuing to earn the high marks. And even though earning the high marks in her grading is not the goal is that she's able to absorb the information that's being put into that learning environment, because it would be Satan that will want to close her ears through his culture, through the sounds that he makes in his culture that makes it more appealing to not pay attention and listen to friends.
That's right. You're talking about a proud mama moment. As I mentioned before, I do surprise phone checks, and she never knows when or if I'm getting her phone and scrolling through text messages and scrolling through Instagram messages, and one of her friends had a profanity-laced text message, and her response was, "We can't continue to talk if that's how you're going to talk, because that's not how we should be talking." She wasn't nasty with her friends. She wasn't being disrespectful to them or anything, but she just let them know that's not how we talk. That's not how we carry ourselves. And I was so proud of her, just stepping up and letting them know, hey, that's not how we conduct ourselves. So everything we say to them may or may not stick, and it may not make sense to them when we're telling them what to do and what not to do. But the fact is, we plant that seed, and we just wait to see that seed growing. And like I said, it may not happen today, it may not happen tomorrow, but we know that as parents, when we plant that seed and we water that seed will grow, and we will see it eventually. And, just those proud mama moments let us know, yep, we got it right.
Amen. Amen. And I thank God for every last one of them. I know you have a 13-year-old. I, too, have a 13-year-old. Has she come home with the boyfriend question yet?
Yes, and she has a little, I'll call it, quote-unquote, boyfriend, because she's 13, he's 14, and we have supervised, like we'll go to the bowling alley or we'll go skating where he can come and hang out with us, but it's with the family. There's never any alone time. I'm like, honey, I was 16 before I could wear makeup, before I could think about having a boyfriend. But I've talked to her and explained to her, he's your friend. You can call it whatever you want, but we've had the discussion about sex. She's 13, yes, and I've had the discussion with her about sex. Any public displays of affection, I'm not cool with that. I draw the line. He can come and hang out with us, but there's no public displays of affection. I've even talked to her, like, no kissing, because kissing leads to other things. And some people may think kissing is innocent. No, kissing leads to other things. I'm just being real. I was 13, 14, 15, 16 at one time, too. I know. So, like I said, he can come. He can have supervised visits with us when we go out and have family day or whatever. But I've explained to her, sex is something that's sacred. Your body is a temple, and you hold your body to a higher standard, and your body is saved for marriage. And that has been my prayer since she was born, that she save herself for marriage, and the man that she marries has saved himself for her. That's been my prayer since she was born. And I'm a firm believer in that. And not going to get too much into detail, but I wasn't a virgin when I got married. And I just so wish that I had someone to sit down with me and have those hard conversations with me and tell me, the emotional ties that come with it. It's not just a physical thing. It's emotional and it's spiritual ties to that. And she and I have those conversations, and I'm just hoping and praying that she really listens and comprehends and understands how serious that is.
One of the things that I know that our youth are missing around the whole sex talk is that oftentimes they feel pressured just by the other teens and things that they're around to actually engage in the act of it, but they are not equipped emotionally to handle the shame that goes along with the act of it. And then they find themselves doing it to fit in, to feel involved, to relieve the pressure of people calling them names or picking at them for trying to stay pure. And then from there, it can grow into something that they're doing more often now just to hold their membership in the club or their connection to the squad, the in crowd. And it's okay to say no because that standard has to be set. Our 13-year-old has talked about and hinted at the concept of having a boyfriend. And my response to her is, what is the goal? Because if you can't articulate to me what the goal of having a boyfriend is, then you're not ready to have a boyfriend. And so we engage in that dialogue, and she now goes and does her research to come back and tell me, okay, what is the goal of you having a boyfriend? And now what it does is it begins to heighten her awareness of what are the expectations of the role of being a girlfriend now? Okay, are you ready for that? Are you ready for that? Is he ready for that? Okay, well, what happens then? So basically what I'm teaching her is that when you engage and embark upon this new relationship status, boyfriend, girlfriend, what is your plan when things don't go according to the standards that you've set in your life? If your standard is purity, and now you've engaged in this relationship that by the world's sound tells you that this relationship has the end goal of having sex, having oral sex, engaging in other things with this person, then what is your plan for dealing with those issues when they arise in the relationship? Are you disciplined enough to handle the pressure of that when it comes? If you were, why aren't you disciplined enough even now to handle the pressures of the sound of the world around you that's saying, get a boyfriend, get a boyfriend, get a boyfriend, when you and I both know that you're not ready for that? This is her first year of middle school. She's been Montessori through 6th grade, which is the typical time period where they cross over into middle school. So this is her first year actually in middle school, and she's hearing this term boyfriend that's being emitted from the atmosphere, that's being, coming from the culture. And so it's like, okay, well, the mere fact that you're talking about that means that you're feeling the pressure of the culture. Now, will you set a standard in that culture, or will you let that culture embed its standard in you? And so they have been very productive conversations, but my question back to her was, what is the goal? Okay, well, if you're not ready to submit to that goal of the relationship, if you're not ready to submit to and carry out the roles in that relationship, then why would you want to engage in that relationship right now? She's a bright girl, so she's still coming back with stuff, and I'm dealing with it one day.
Yeah, well, look, at least she's doing her homework. At least she's doing her homework. And the fact, you said this is her first year in middle school, and when we were growing up, high school wasn't until 10th grade. I think maybe Harding was 9th grade, but all the other schools were 10th grade. And my daughter will be 13 still. No, I'm sorry, she turns 14 in August, and then school starts a couple of days after she turns 14, and she will be in high school. And I'm thinking her maturity level, as much as I like to think she's a very mature 14-year-old, being in high school is a totally different atmosphere.
It is.
And I'm thinking, wow, when I was 14, I think I was a little more mature than she is. But I'm just thinking her in a high school environment is going to take a whole lot of prayer. Like just a lot of prayer, because high school is a totally different ballgame, totally different dynamic. And like you said, that world sound is just, I'm sure it's going to be louder and stronger and harder when she gets to high school. And I'm not prepared for her to be in high school.
Well, I think about some of the things that I heard in high school. I mean, I remember we used to have an area outside of the building for students to go and smoke cigarettes.
Smoke. Yeah.
And now you have students, the seniors were allowed to drive cars to school, which meant that we also had the freedom to sneak away from school. And there's just so much now that we didn't have to deal with then. But again, if we look at the context of what we find in the Word, these things are not new. But
it's just a new vehicle. It's just a new ways for the same old tricks. That's what it
Well,
is.
Exactly. So all at the end and at the core and at the heart of it all is to get these children to begin to compromise in order to blend in and relieve the pressure. And it's no longer peer pressure, but it's the pressure of the culture, the pressure of what the culture establishes. So I want to talk about what are some things that mothers can teach their daughters in order to flip the script. And one of the things that you said earlier was be the trendsetter. And that's basically set the thermostat of whatever that environment or that situation is that you're in. And literally have people march to your beat. And I always because I'm the mother of 3 daughters, and I always tell them that in any relationship, someone is going to be the dominant influencer. And that needs to be you. Particularly when the other person is doing something that does not meet your standard. So be that trendsetter. Be the one who is the thermostat, and you set the temperature and the standard for that relationship.
That's right. That is absolutely right. And I preach that to my daughter all the time. Like, you be a leader, not a follower. And there's nothing wrong with being smart. There's nothing wrong with being intelligent. There's nothing wrong with wearing clothes that fit. There's nothing wrong with wearing your natural hair out in an afro. There's nothing wrong with not wearing makeup. Like, I want her to be a 13-year-old. I don't want her to worry about who's going to say what about my hair, or who's going to say this about my outfit, or who's going to say this, I made the honor roll. And, one of the biggest struggles that she and I have had, she wore locks. Both of us had locks for years. And she had locks from the time she was in kindergarten up until last year. And we had so many discussions with her because the majority of her school, when she was in elementary school, it was less than 1% black. And she just couldn't understand why she couldn't wear her hair like her friends. And she swims. So we would have so many discussions why she couldn't go swimming without her swim cap. Stuff to me that just was second nature, like you just put your swim cap on and you go swimming. But to her, it was a big deal. She felt like she stuck out like a sore thumb as it was, because she was the only black girl on the swim team, and here she is with the swim cap on, and she can't just get in the water like the other girls. And to me, it was just like, why does that even bother you? But, I have to step back and look, okay, she's 10, 11, 12 years old. Yeah, I guess it does bother her, but, and I had to explain to her, baby, you're beautiful. Your locks are beautiful. Your hair is gorgeous. And, of course, it didn't mean much coming from me because I'm mama, but when, other people, would step in and tell her how beautiful her hair is, and, her bus driver, just called her a princess and told her that was her crown of glory. So that's what I used to just tell her, girl, that's your crown of glory. You wear that crown proudly. And then when we took her locks out, she wanted her locks out, and when she got last summer, I, was like, what, she's old enough, let her make that decision to take her locks out. We took her locks out. She has the most gorgeous curly hair, but she just is still stuck in that I don't like my hair. But when other people come and tell her how pretty her hair is and how gorgeous her hair is, and I just want her to embrace her beauty, embrace her natural beauty, not just for her hair, but her skin tone. And I think, you said society, everybody, they want you to look a certain way. They want your body shape a certain way. They want your hair a certain way. Your makeup has to be a certain way. I'm like, no, baby, your beauty is within. You could have the most gorgeous face, but if your heart isn't right and you got a nasty attitude and you treat people nasty, I don't care how pretty you are outwardly. If your insides aren't right, all that superficial beauty means nothing to me. So I thought that you can be the complete package. You can be beautiful inside and out. And that's what I stressed to her. You just be a beautiful, authentic person, and everything else falls in place.
That's good stuff right there. And so true and so applicable, particularly for our daughters, because they need to know who they are. They need to tell others who they are so that other people will know what to respect. They need to get comfortable with who they are naturally. Now, again, when I was younger coming up, yes, we had perms. Yes, we wore weaves, and occasionally would throw on a wig on a bad hair day. And I'm talking even in high school. So we've been through that. But again, it was bowing down to the sounds of our culture, the culture that we lived in. And so culture does not tell you that it's okay to grow your hair naturally. It's okay to love those kinky locks. Now in most recent years, more so than in previous years, like when we were coming up, but natural hair has become the in thing. And if we started to see, or if our youth started to see more of their mothers going natural, and this also goes for like even hair colors, coloring hair, it has become popular for people to color their hair in these strange, odd colors. And if you're in a group where they wear strange, odd colored hair, then the pressure of what culture is speaking in that particular culture is going to make you want to start wearing your hair strange and odd colors, and you no longer embrace the color of hair that God gave you. And I speak that because my daughter was in a classroom where the kids were dyeing their hair like pink and purple, and yeah, even including the boys, they were coming to school and their hair was dyed like pink and purple. And, and she came home and she would ask, Mom, and I'm talking, these children at this point, they were 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. And the kids, the boys and the girls, And so she was like, would you ever let me dye my hair? And I said, if it was something that you really wanted to do and it was your idea to do it. Again, encouraging her to be the thermostat. And I said, so whenever it's your idea and it's something that you really want to do and you're not doing it based on something that you've seen somewhere, then we can have that discussion. Needless to say, she did not come home wanting her hair dyed after that.
Not anymore.
She really didn't even mention it. And I continued just subtly talking about how she needs to set the standard and how she needs to set the trend and make other people want to do what she's done. So not too long after that, she decided that she wanted to go natural, no more braids or anything or twisties in her hair, but she wanted to go with a nice tapered cut. And as soon as she did it, there were several other kids in the class cut their hair. All different nationalities. Girl. Everybody now running around with the tapered haircuts like hers. And and I'm telling you, it was hard for me because I had to braid it down every night so that she'd have a nice twist out in the morning. But it was what she needed. She began seeing the power of emitting her own sound, regardless of the sounds that were coming in around her. And so even now, she sets boundaries. She recognized that she truly does have a sound, and she recognized that there's value in her being unique. The other thing that I taught her was, you tell people who you are. If someone comes to you telling you that you're this, you're that, you're the other, and it does not align with the values that you've established for yourself and who you know yourself to be, you tell them that they are wrong. And you tell them who you are so that they know what to respect. And that may be hard when you're talking about elementary school students. But if you begin to instill that in them coming up, when they get into middle school and they come home and they are tried and they, and children at school are being rude, mean, calling names and all of that, and you bring that back to their remembrance, you are now raising someone who is confident in themselves.
Yes. And it becomes second nature. It becomes second nature.
Exactly. And that's what we as parents want. So when I talk about women making history, we make history through our children because they're able to get through these years and become confident adults that are ready to challenge the world with all of the unique gifts that they have in their presence, in who they are naturally. They don't have to depend on what culture says, bowing down to it, because what happens is, and we had to explain this to our daughter, is that when you begin to compromise who you are and those unique things that God has given you, you begin to engage in idol worship. And now you're worshiping the sounds of another God and not the sounds of the God that tells you that you are fearfully and wonderfully made.
That's
that
right.
You are made in my image, that you are made in my likeness, that you do have the power. You have the same power I have, I've given you. You can walk in that even as a young person.
Yep. I've had to catch myself at times because, kids model what they see. And I've had to catch myself at times, griping and complaining about, I've gained 5 pounds, I need to do this, that, and the other. Well, when my daughter hears me saying stuff like that, she's probably thinking, well, Mama's complaining that she needs to lose 5 pounds. She's not confident and comfortable in the body that she has. So I have to, kind of catch myself in certain situations. Yeah, of course, I probably need to lose some weight, but that's not something that I need to dwell on because then she'll get a complex. And it's not just society. Sometimes it comes from right within the home that things need to be checked. Yeah, like I said, sometimes I have to check myself and, hey, I got a 13-year-old watching me. Let me get myself together and let me watch what I say and watch what I do. Because she's gonna mirror exactly what she sees Mama doing.
That's good.
So yes,
that's really good.
I've had to catch myself sometimes.
That's good stuff right there. As we close, one of the things that parents need to instill in their younger people, particularly in the face of the sound that this culture is making that really comes to kill, steal, and destroy all that they could be, is teaching them to honor God, honor themselves, honor those that they're in relationships with, honor their family, and honor the church. Because for those who are followers and believers of Christ, we're raising our children to have a connection with the church. And I know that my daughter proudly talks to other teens and her friends about what church she belongs to. And when I say honor the church, you can't be in here one day and you're talking about how good church was on Sunday, and then the next moment you hiding behind the bleachers messing with some little boy or letting some little boy mess with you. Or you're on the back of the bus vaping with the kids because the culture says vape, or some of these other things that they do. So when you do those things, you bring first that dishonor to God. You're displeasing God in your behavior because you can't serve two masters. You can't serve two gods. You can't find yourself straddling the fence. So honor God, honor yourself. We're connected to church and community for a reason. It helps us to grow in who we are.
You have to surround yourself with like-minded people. It's just, and I'm not saying you ostracize those that are not within the same confines that you are, but after a while, you start, what's the saying, you lay down with dogs, you should get up with fleas.
That's right.
So, yeah, you got to surround yourself with like-minded people. And if there are some people that aren't like-minded, you're either going to change them or they're going to change you. And you just have to make the decision which one it's going to be. So I strongly, strongly, strongly urge all parents, number one, like you said, as a family, you honor God, you honor the church, you honor your family, but you have to know who your kids are hanging out with. You have to be diligent and do your homework. And because I talk to the parents. I talk when, oh, Mama, can I go over such and such house? Let me talk to the mama, or or they can come over here. I'm more comfortable with her friends coming over here than her going to other people's house, and I know, she probably gets tired of her friends coming over here, and she doesn't go over her friend's house. But that's just me. That's just how I am. But like I said, as parents, we have to be diligent. We have to be. You can call it being nosy. You can call it whatever you want to. But you have to know your kids, who they're with, who they're associating with. You just have to be a parent and not be a friend. I mean, yeah, be a friend, but your first job is a parent.
Amen.
Your secondary job is friend, but I already know mama's job is mama, bottom line. And I'm going to be
Amen.
Mama, and you just going to deal with it. That's my takeaway from this whole conversation is parents, we have to be parents.
Amen. As a parent, you're teaching your child to be the distinction that makes the difference. And that only comes from them knowing who they are, what they've been placed in the world to be, and knowing that their difference makes the difference. And with that, we're going to close out. Venitra, thank you so much for being a part of today's broadcast.
Oh, thank you. I have enjoyed this conversation.
You are listening to Halftime with Tony Imahel, pastor of Brave Heart United. Today's broadcast has been brought to you by Next Level Plus Project Management and Business Consultants. Learn more about how Next Level Plus can help you solve the right problems and seize the right opportunities by calling 704-780-2997 or visit their website at nextlevelplus.org.